Hello everyone, I'm Michael Peeble, coming to you from one of my best friend's cribs. This is his balcony. As you can see, it's a great ambience. There are trees there, stuff, it's cool. I'm here to induce a dose of motivation into you. You can call me doctor, but I'm not one. Shh. Anyway, I recently watched a movie called The Founder. It came out in 2016. It's about the guys who started McDonald's, the burger chain, and its franchises back in the 50s. Anyhow, a few minutes into the movie, and there's a powerful quote that I'd love to share with you. It says, persistence. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent won't. Nothing is more uncommon than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius won't. Unrewarded genius is practically a cliche. Education won't. The world is full of educated fools. Persistence and determination is more powerful. End of quote. Now, in my last vlog, I promised that I'll finish my personal task. So I finished writing my thriller, The Script Born in Anarchy Volume 2. It was 85,000 words long, and now it's completed at around 96,000 words. That's a large novel. The story is on point. The characters are creative. It has twists and turns, adventure, suspense, comedy, etc. I shall entertain you with it on a later vlog. Okay, you may think that writing it was a challenge, right? Nope. As I pointed out in my previous vlog, certain things come easy to me, and writing is one of them. Now comes the challenging part, finding the right publisher. The right publisher. And that part, I'll be honest, it sucks. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that every author usually goes through, so I'm no exception. Anyway, please allow me to entertain you with items from the first novel I had published. It is called the Psychopath Script, Volume 1, The Crimson Manuscript. It has been published by Blazing Heart Publishing in Detroit, Michigan. Here's the cover, which I decorated with some music. So, that's my first novel's cover. So the story is about some demented psycho, a serial killer who leaves no trail behind. And some cop called Sean Alex is busting his hump, trying to bring him down. But he has never encountered a killer like this one before. The story is also incorporates the story of a terrorist organization from Syria called the Red Jihad. The CIA is also facing challenges trying to take them down and such. So the Crimson Manuscript is kind of like two stories linked into one, but they are related. Anyway, let me read you chapter 1 and parts of chapter 2 of the Crimson Manuscript. I don't have the paperback yet, because both my books were released during this outbreak, and my publisher hasn't had the chance to send them to me from the States, what with restrictions and whatnot. Anyways, take this like an audiobook, but more awesome due to the fact that it's the actual author narrating it to you. And here we go. So here's chapter 1 of the Crimson Manuscript. I'll just read it to you directly from the laptop, since I don't have the paperback. Date, August 24th, 2018. Location, south of Indonesia, Pantai Pekutatan. The time was around noon. The environs were bustling with merriment and activity. The place was crowded. In the middle of the Pantai Pekutatan amusement park was a popular eatery called Healthy Seafood and Happiness Restaurant. At 11 a.m., the place was already packed with clientele, enjoying all varieties of seafood the ocean brought. By the time the clock struck noon, the restaurant was almost full. Outside, 3 young Indonesian brothers, aged 5, 7, and 8 respectively, were playing soccer at the parking lot adjacent to the restaurant. About 100 feet away from the kids, a heavily bearded man with a facial scar in a red shirt alighted from a Honda Badger 250 dirt bike. He parked the bike at the side of the road about 200 feet away from the restaurant. On his back was a rucksack. The contents within made it visibly heavy. The bearded man had a very serious persona. He sweat profusely as he ambled towards the restaurant. This wasn't the usual perspiration caused by the hot, humid coast. This was different. Along the way, the ball was kicked by the 8-year-old kid, and it hit the scarred block right on his groin. A loud and muffled fart escaped his rear, and he arced forward, stepping on the ball with a groan. The 5-year-old boy then approached him with many apologies. The man's beard was intimidating, frightening the timorous child. However, the look of innocence plastered across the boy's face melted the rage within the block. Assessing his beard and red getup, the boy asked him, "Are you Santa Claus?" It was ironical given the fact that it was the end of August, but his ignorance was excusable if you take the boy's age into account. The man just looked at him and ignored the query. Santa Claus was a contradiction to what the bearded brute actually was. Despite both he and Santa wearing red regalia, the serious man's beard wasn't white, it was dark, and the bag of treats he had brought contained an item that matched his beard's color. The item within was dark and devastating. He kicked the ball back to the children and left, heading towards the restaurant. The serious lad then dashed for a chair smack dab in the middle of the establishment, set his bag down and ordered a cup of tea. After quickly summarizing the tea, the bloke got up, leaving his bag behind. The waiter who served him called him as he walked away. "Sir, you forgot your bag." With a forced smile, the bearded man rotated to him, and in a deep Arab accent, he said, "That's not mine. I found it there." The waiter raised his eyebrow, shrugged, and then continued his duties, wiping the table, hoping that the owner of the bag would eventually come back for it. The place was so abuzz with activity that no one would even notice a peculiarity as minor as that. It was a miracle the waiter did. On the way out, the man stopped a few feet away from the children and began barking to them. "This is a parking lot. Go to the beach. Go to the beach now." The boy's father was watching from his table at a distance, ran towards them to confront the man. Hey, what in the world do you think you're doing?" The serious man turned to him. The look on his scarred bearded face sent chills down the boy's father's spine. In the most nerve-jarring inflection, the man said, "This is tarmac. I was telling them to go play in the sand." Their father, now with a humbled voice, said to him, "I haven't told you how to raise your children. How about you don't tell me how to raise mine?" With a sardonic grin, the man warned the dad, "I was just looking out for them. If you're a responsible adult, then I wouldn't have to tell you what's good for them. They might lose their teeth if they keep playing in such an environment, and so will you." The man eyed the boy's father with a smidgen of intimidation in his stance. It was all in the tone and deadpan look on his scarred visage. The man's sheer deportment was enough to scare even the toughest of blokes. The boy's father backed down. Turning to his children, he commanded them, "Hey kids, pergi dan mainkan di pantai." That's Indonesian. With that, the three young boys collected their ball and sprinted for the white inviting sands of the ocean. The bearded man then strolled over to his dirt bike, put on his helmet, and he mounted the off-road bike. At that moment, his eyes caught something quite disturbing as he kicked the ignition stand. The eldest of the three children was running back to his parents in the restaurant. In his thick Arab accent, the man exclaimed, "Shit." There was nothing more that could be done at that point. The bearded man felt miserable and helpless as he watched the sprightly young boy dashing into the restaurant, with joy and laughter all over his youthful facade. With a profound heart, the heavily bearded man turned the bike to face the highway. He kicked it into gear. He then twisted the throttle and tore down the road. Behind him, a huge explosion went off. Now that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 goes like this. About a year later, location, Nairobi, Kenya. Afande, noun, Kenyan slang for cop. That's in slanted letters to tell you just a little knowledge. Anyway, Sean Alex Eddy contorted his face as he pushed up another rep of 70-kilogram weights. He was fatigued. By his account, he had bench pressed 32 and counting. That number wasn't a lot for him, but given the fact that he had been going at it like a madman for the better part of the evening, fatigue was setting in. Sean looked up at the brownish bloke spotting him, and in the middle of a gasp, he shrieked, "Support!" No sooner had his assistant used his right hand to help him with the weights than the phone in his pocket began to ring. His helper answered the call, anchoring the phone using his shoulder while simultaneously helping Sean with the weights on his chest. Suddenly, his assist shrieked out loud, "What? I'm on my way. Just sit tight, bro. I'm on my way." Sean's assist abruptly bolted out of the gym, leaving him with the hefty weight clearly bearing down on his chest. That was the beginning of his problems. Sean's hands began uncontrollably shaking as the weights inched closer and closer to his chest, threatening to crush him on the very bench he was lying on. He bit his lip, and with a short burst of breath, he sounded off across the gym. Somebody please help me right now." The position Sean was in was located almost dead center in the middle of the entire hall. anyone could have easily gotten to him. The gym, once bustling with sounds of metals clanking and audible chit-chat, instantly got eerily silent. The men abandoned their workouts and paid their full attention onto Sean. In total, there were about 11 in number. The blocks casually meandered around to where Sean was, almost in a choreographed fashion. By the time they reached his location, he was in distress. His hands were vacillating, clearly evident to the fact that he couldn't sustain the weights much longer. The lads surrounded him in a perfect circle and just stared. Not a word was uttered. In a frail voice, Sean spluttered, "Please get this off me." And he shot his eyes around, just as his hands finally surrendered and the weight fell onto his chest, threatening to crush his essence of life. He ground his teeth as the agony welled up. Sean then desperately tried to roll the bar backwards so that it fell off. This concurrently pulled him from the frying pan into the menace of the actual flames, as the bar was then lodged at the sweet spot between his chest and his trachea. In his now extremely strained voice, he shrieked out another plea. "Help me, guys! Please, somebody help me!" As usual, his assailants didn't do a goddamn thing. Moments flitted by when, finally, the man directly adjacent to Sean's head advanced forward. He reached for the weight in an insufferably slow manner. When he was about to touch it, he paused, gazed into Sean's eyes, glaring directly into the deepest, darkest viscera of his soul. He then slowly retracted his hand. By that time, Sean's eyes were popping out of their sockets. He watched as the man slowly backpedaled back to his original position. Another member of the unseemly circle produced a 5-liter jerrycan, as if from thin air, and then he began waltzing towards Sean. Sean averted his gaze to his new wishlist Samaritan. The guy's gaze was locked into Sean's bloodshot eyes, severing the despair they showed, and in the most sinister of inflections, the brute said, "Mr. Sean Eddy, you actually thought that we would never get you. Well, here we are. Do you have any last words, or you are too preoccupied in your disconcerted predicament?" The man paused, sniggered, and then poured the contents of the jerrycan all over Sean. The liquid had a clear to pinkish hue. The scent of an all too familiar element hit Sean's nostrils as he realized that the liquid was petrol. He frenetically gasped as the flammable liquid flooded onto his visage. The operator standing at his 6 o'clock loudly bellowed over Sean's frenzy as he fumbled around his pockets for a matchbox. "And once again, the souls of the righteous shall attain justice as the wicked perish. This is the way, this is the truth, and this is what people such as us shall live by." A dark, ominous aura clouded the scenario as the group surrounding him burst out in demented mirth. Sensing the purity of the imminent peril, Sean turned to his Glock 9 pistol, which is strategically placed in a holster on the floor next to his bench. He never traveled anywhere without his firearm, and it will definitely come in handy at that particular juncture. It was his only hope. With immense difficulty, Sean reached for the firearm. The manic antagonist by his feet lit a matchstick and tossed it towards the marinated Sean. Time then seemed to slow down as the flame glided through the air. As soon as Sean picked up his Glock 9 shooter, the match went from a dawdling smooth soar to a fiercely swift tumble. Sorry, English is my second language. Within the butt of an eyelash, his mouth widened in a nerve-jarring shriek as a vicious flame engulfed him. Suddenly, he woke up panting and sweating profusely in his bed. He was in a frantic state of panic, touching himself all over to confirm that it was simply a nightmare. It seemed extremely real, and he was glad he wasn't a sizzling piece of chicken fried steak. Nightmares had become a regular nuisance to Sean. He wasn't sleeping at all, and whenever he was lucky enough to drift off, the demons of his past always seemed to haunt him. Okay, now that's chapter 1 and part of chapter 2. Now, as I come to the end of this vlog, you already know the drill with regards to this channel. You write down your ambitions, your aspirations or desires in the comments and strive to accomplish them within a reasonable time frame. This channel is meant to motivate you in accordance with what you write down. It's meant to provide emotional support and push you towards the things you want to achieve, no matter how big or small. This family here, we will support you in whatever we can, in whatever way we can. That's what I created this channel for. Anyway, thank you and see you at the next vlog. So please stay awesome.